Welcome to another video, A Walk with Phil, and today I'm in West Bromwich. I'm just off the Whitehall Road. I'm on actually a street called Whitcreeve Street because I'm going to take you a little walk around here because what I want to do in this video is show you some houses that are crooked. So crooked in fact they actually look as though they're falling down, and I've got to thank Alan, one of the contributors to the comments section, quite a regular contributor actually, who's given me a heads up on this one, so I thought I'd come and have a look at it. and sure enough, they're quite crooked. So we're going to have a look at them, and but before I do, as I say, we'll have a quick look around here in Whitcreeve Street, bit of Whitehall Road, and show you where the old brewery used to be, Derby's Brewery. So let's go and have a look and see what's left, if anything. So, well, before we go and have a look at those crooked houses, I just want to show you Whitcreeve Street here in Grits Green. And because it was around here that once stood a very famous hall. It was called Dunkirk Hall, and Dunkirk Hall had been in this area since 1660. And it was in 1860, about 200 years later, that part of the hall was actually converted into a pub called the Dunkirk Inn. And the Dunkirk Inn, as I said, had been here since 1860, but it was all around here. On this corner here of Whitcreeve Street once stood the brewery, Derby's Brewery. And Derby's Brewery was very famous in West Bromwich, of course, because they started brewing at the Bush Inn in Wood Lane, not far from here, in about 1894. Anyway, there's Whitcreeve Street ahead, all the way down there, look. But if I just show you up here, it's all quite rather modern. I think there used to be a big block of flats as well on this corner, wasn't there? But it was just around here where the Dunkirk Inn once stood. I do believe, well, Dunkirk Hall actually, I do believe it's just around here that the pub, that the building, the Dunkirk Hall, had been there since 1660. And then part of it, as I said, was converted to the Dunkirk pub. The Derbys, as I said, started brewing in 1894. It was in 1900 they purchased this building that was stood here, the Dunkirk Inn, Stroke Hall, and they built their brewery on this site in 1902. So if I pan you around here, look, you can see where all these new properties are now. A lot of this was part of the brewery, just around here, and just ahead of me. And the pub itself would have just been just here, and it was in about, I think it was in 1928 that they bought the Sponwell Brewery that was down Spon Lane, and that included 17 pubs. And then they purchased the Diamond Brewery at Cadeshill in Dudley, which had another 15 pubs with that purchase in 1937. But then the days of Derby's were finally numbered, because in 1951 the M&B Brewery bought Derby's, and the brewery closed in 1951. It was, as I say, it was all around here, just on this corner of Whitcreeve Street, with Whitehall Road just ahead of me there. But the pub itself carried on, the Dunkirk Inn. And the Dunkirk Inn was demolished around 1977 when it closed, or it could have been a year or two later, but it closed in 1977. And that was the end of the pub, the hall, the brewery, everything. And when you look up there, of course, there is not a single trace of, well, you wouldn't know there was anything up there that was famous like the hall and the pub and the brewery, would you? There's nothing there at all. Amazing, really. But there is a Dunkirk Avenue around here. Presumably that was named after the hall. The Dunkirk Inn was originally owned, when it was first built, as part of the hall conversion, by Reuben Farley, who was one of the mayors of West Bromwich. Was he a mayor 5 times? Famous philanthropist of West Bromwich. Just here, look, we see all these newish properties here. Of course, this was the Grits Green Primary School on the corner of the opposite side of Whitgrove Street. So we had the brewery behind me, and this side was the school, just here on this corner. I think that may have closed in the, was it 1969, something like that? We look over the road here. I mentioned this on a previous video when I did of Whitehall Road, but I remember that being something called Fords, where there was a paper recyclers, and back in the day, in the 70s, you could collect as much newspaper as you wanted and go and take it down to be weighed here at this place, and they'd give you a little stub to say how much money they'll pay you for all the paper, and then the following week you go and take your stub in and exchange it for the money. That's if you didn't lose it, of course, which I did when I was collecting newspapers. We got Riders Green Methodist Church Hall there, and behind that it was the Sunday school. The Riders Green Road is just up there, and on the right you'll have Robinson's just over the canal bridge, the chemical works. And it's up there where there used to be a lot of mining. There's always mining up here as well. Now along Grits Green Road on the left, always a large mining area. It was round here. And just on this corner, who can remember the Union Cross pub that used to stand here, that had been built in 1834 but finally closed in 1984 and demolished not long after. And I think they used to brew their own beer up there as well. Just on this corner it was. The Union Cross Inn. With a fine old pub. Anyway, we're going up Oldbury Road now. We're on our way to look at some of these houses that it's been pointed out to me that they're crooked. But as you come down Whitehall Road, you know, it's extraordinary how much has changed along there. There used to be shops and schools, brewery, pubs galore down there. But when you come up Whitehall Road now, it's such an eye-opener now. Obviously it's mainly residential, but you wouldn't imagine what it used to be. Lots of social activity was conducted along that Whitehall Road back in its day, but nothing left now. Just over here we've got something called Phoenix, weighbridges, crane scales, platforms. It's been numerous things. It's had numerous uses. There's that building. And what was that, Ring and Ride? I think they used to be based there as well. They still do Ring and Ride. This minibus service that used to go around little estates. Just over there on the left you can see a scrapyard. That scrapyard's been there years, you know, absolutely years. And this building here is a specialist vehicle services. I think that's been a car repair business there as well for years as well. That one that's been there quite some time. Down here we've got Stour Street and Grenville Place next to that. There's a few old terrace properties just here left on the right, look. They're all 20s and 30s mainly up there now, but just those few little terrace properties hung on. It always makes you wonder why they never got demolished when they was building the rest of the road. Somebody supports Albion, look. There's a big plaque on the wall. And here's this scrapyard, as I said, it's been here years, this scrapyard. It looks like scrap cars, aren't they? Scrap cars wanted. That white van's in a bit of a state, isn't it? Unless the vultures have already picked at it, but it looks as though it's been in a bit of a smash, that one has. Alright, old bangers in there, alright. And talking of which, well, I wouldn't say they're old bangers. I mean, I mentioned this before, but it's very difficult to look in here. You can see an old, like an Austin Cambridge or something there. Look on the left, a light green Austin Cambridge. An old Jag there as well. You can just see an MG there, an orange one. But that one there, that orange one, that was I think it was built in the 70s, that one, but there was such an outcry from MG enthusiasts at the time because they took away the chrome and they put these black bumpers on the front. But yeah, there's one or two old cars in there. Anyway, here's Jack's Autos now, but who remembers when that was a big vegetable, fruit and veg little warehouse, wasn't it? You come and pick your big sacks of potatoes and that. Anyway, we're here. These are the crooked houses. Now, if you look carefully, of course all the traffic whizzing by, it's very difficult to make out, but this part of the house is higher than the one next door. And you can see the porch is kind of leaning outwards, and it looks to me as though that side is sinking, and that one's a little higher than that side. Yeah, but people are living in them. Whereas you can see, if you look carefully, look how the building slants down towards the right. Now the question is have they subsided in any way? I mean, I don't know whether I'd actually fancy living in there with this kind of subsidence. If you look in front of it, you can make out it is quite visible actually, the way the right hand side has sunken. It's certainly sunk. Anyway, we get Farley Road here, named after Reuben Farley, because he used to live around here. This is Reuben Farley. Now look at these ones. Now you can see that this one house, that's kind of sunk down a little as well on the left. But certainly that house looks very, very crooked, doesn't it, that one? That is a proper crooked looking house. It's not even subtle. This one perhaps a little more subtle, but that one is definitely sinking down, looking, because that's the right hand side there is most certainly higher. But number 90, but these two here, look as they're going to fall down. This couple of semis here, certainly something not right about this area. Now, subsidence is a thing, of course, due to a lot of mining, but the mining itself was not particularly close by here, mainly over yonder on the left hand side in Grits Green Road. Now, so look at this one. Now, this rather large house here. Now, is this look in order? I don't really know. It doesn't look right. I mean, the roof looks like it's sunk a little at the top, but this one's all boarded up and it's got a lot of foliage growing at the front. But actually, some of the foliage just seems to have been cut back the last time I came here a few months back. But it's all boarded up, and maybe the subsidence issue, or if it is a subsidence issue, has ensured that this building can't be habitable. Somebody said it was Harry's house. Somebody called Harry used to live here. It's been like this for years and years apparently. And next to this one, this is a newer build, maybe 60s, but I don't know. The entrance is a big old wooden wooden gate, and I don't know what's going on with the one on the right, but is this empty as well? It's hard to say, but there's curtains up on the windows, but again, it's one of these houses that just doesn't sit right. It looks to me, if you look carefully, it does sink a little to the right, You see the house behind looks okay, but the front here, the extension on the front, that's certainly not quite level, not straight. This is Vernon Street. Let's have a look at the rest of them. I wonder if that guy knows anything. I'm going to ask him. The Jolly Sailor pub. It's one of those bar and grills now, not one of the old traditional pubs. No, all these properties along here, they seem okay. But it's really from this one all the way down to there. Now the guy I just spoke to told me there's issues with the foundations. He knows nothing about mining or subsidence or anything like that. Anyway, I think I'll just have a closer look, especially the ones at the two at the end, two semis at the end, and see if I can get a bit more of a closer look. If I just go down the side and see what it looks like down there. It's just quite unusual to see properties like this, all tilting, kind of crooked, and people still living in them, you know. So as far as things are concerned, they must consider them to be rather safe to live in. This is now Jack's Autos now. I don't know whether we can actually... The gate's open. Let's see if we can get down the back here and have a look around the back of the house, see if we can see anything around here. We've just come up this passage access road. It's just can't quite see. Maybe you can see how this one house on the right leans more to the left and the one next to it leans to the right. Well, I'm not sure I'd be happy living in there with that crookedness of the house. Just here on the corner of Stow Street, I just wanted to mention when I went past this place, the Industrial Scales and Weigh-Bridges, that used to be a garage, I believe. And you can see there's another scrapyard there, just by the Union pub used to be. You can see just at the top of an old scrapped car up there. You can't really make out what goes on behind that wall. Again, the scrapyard's been there for quite some time. Now, just opposite Stow Street, just on the left, just on the left here, there used to be a pub there, and that was the Cottage Spring. I mean, maybe one or two of you might still remember the Cottage Spring, because I know it had been there since 1881, but it was actually closed in 1979. Not sure when it was demolished, maybe not long after, but that's where it stood, just where that hedge is. And just on the opposite corner, just there, now I doubt if anybody remember this one, but that used to be, that was once the Red Lion. Again, a pub that had been built there, quite old, in the Victorian times, 1870, but it closed in 1927. And so there's nothing left of these pubs that used to occupy both these corners, and it used to be an access road there to serve the works or factory that used to be just behind there. There you go then. They were crooked, weren't they? I wasn't too sure about it when I first came and had a look, because Alan mentioned this. He says there's some crooked houses along Oldbury Road, and but as you can see yourself, it's quite unusual. But what's unusual although they may be crooked, but what's unusual is the fact that people are still living in them. I don't think I'd want to be living in there with the thought that maybe one day the roof will come in. Anyway, we'll leave it at that, and if you like the video, hit the like button and also hit subscribe and hit the notification bell for new videos. I'll see you on the next one.